Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Championship Leadership Podcast. This is your host, Nate Bailey, and today we got Jon Harrington from the TORCH CIGAR BAR in Phoenix, Arizona. How hot is it over there currently?
It is 106-ish right now, mid-morning. So
dang, yeah, wow.
On its way to warmer.
That's heat right there. So yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to return the favor. This will be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just on Jon's podcast here, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, but time flies, that's for sure. Here's the first question to kick our conversation off. Championship Leadership's the name of the podcast, of course. So, what comes to mind for you, or what does championship leadership mean to you when you hear it?
Oh, fantastic. Championship leadership, opening up our own business, right? I've been in business for self for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 7 or 8 was by myself, right? I had an internet marketing company that I consulted with. We've got friends in the business together. And so I basically consulted, and it wasn't what I knew, it was who I knew. And I was allowed to kind of tap into whatever deal. But when you open up a brick and mortar, it's definitely different, because the leadership when you're by yourself is just make sure you're accountable, you show up. And if you don't return phone calls or emails, then you're not going to eat for the week. This is different. This is, You've got to show up. You've got to lead by example for sure, which to me, talk is cheap. We've run across people that all they do is run their mouths. To me, a leadership position is getting in the trenches, showing the team what it is that we are asking for. And it's by 100% by example, whether it's plunging the urinals, which I've done multiple times, or drying the dishes, or cleaning out the ashtrays, whatever it takes to get the job done. That to me is what leadership is all about.
I love it, man. Absolutely. Being that example, definitely. So you own the cigar bar. How long, when did you open this, the TORCH CIGAR BAR?
We just celebrated our 4-year anniversary. I wish this was evergreen, but I'm going to timestamp us. I'm going to date us right here. But we just celebrated on Friday our 4 years.
Wow. And that's great.
If anyone wants to think about opening, especially in these days, brick and mortar, man, it's significantly tougher sledding than we could have ever have predicted. The first 2 years for sure, because we had no idea what we were doing. Again, I came from the internet world where I woke up and there was 15 deals that were in my lap all day, every day. Nothing is by accident. Everything takes a lot longer than you think it's going to. Yeah. But in the last 6 months, 2020, even with COVID and with all this stuff, it is now I see why. Now there's the upside, right? Now it's becoming more fun. Yeah. The pace of play, I've always compared it to a quarterback, say a kid coming out of BYU, and the NFL game is remarkably.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, there we go. I love that kid. Yeah. So, but when you show up to an NFL, even the OTAs, right? The pace of play is remarkably fast. You're not sure what the language is. That's same thing with opening a bar. And it is, you put in your 10,000 hours, and then all of a sudden, you're now allowed to say no. In the beginning, we said yes to everything, whatever made, whatever question came up, didn't even have to make sense. But we don't want to piss anybody off. We want to make sure we get your 5-star review. Now none of that. You know what? Yeah. We're it's getting so much more fun. The upside now, we're seeing it, we're living it, and we're actually, for the first time in years, looking forward to coming in and see what's next.
Oh, that's great, man. So yeah, I was gonna ask you, especially with COVID, because obviously the ton of businesses are significantly impacted for the good right now. No. So you guys have been able to manage these times, it sounds like.
Mercifully, our landlord took the approach of, hey, we don't want to, bury you guys. So they abated the rent, which really, again, I keep on using the term, but it opened up the playbook to allow us to create to go, to expand differently. So now we can do stuff that I never even thought of. We've never been at to go. This is a place that has an average stay time of 3 hours. So once you walk through the door, you're networking, you're meeting new friends, you're socializing. It's a 3-hour stick. When we were shut down for a full 2 months plus, we had to develop a revenue stream, and to go was the way. And because we didn't have a big rent check at the first of every month due, it allowed us to kind of keep our mojo going, which has been really, really nice.
So what the cigar bar, like, what are you talking about as far as the to go?
We've got a liquor license, and in Arizona, the governor actually made it to where restaurants could do it, but we could always do it. So we can create a mason jar of old fashions, which is really nice to sit around.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So
old fashions. Now you're talking my language here.
And these things are nectar. We have created a formula that is, I would put these up against any place on planet Earth. When I'm making them in the morning, I hate to admit it, but you gotta taste it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this isn't even work. I don't care if it's 8 in the morning.
Right.
Yeah. 8 o'clock at night's a lot better, but you know what?
Yeah,
these things,
sure.
these things are. It is. They're great. And so we sold a crap ton of them, and that kept our lights on and all the stuff that you can't turn off.
Yeah.
So it's worked out well. Great. Oddly.
Yeah. So wait, Torch Cigar Bar, like, that's kind of random, right? How did that happen? Where'd that idea come from?
I love this question. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm going to give you the reason. Number two, I'm going to give you the reason for the name. Number 1, the reason for a cigar bar was my father went to his grave not having any idea what his kid did for a living. I did internet marketing. I brokered internet data. He was in the banking world for 40 years. He had no idea what high risk credit card merchant processing even meant. He had never heard the term. So he didn't know what his kid did. I met right around the same time as my father's passing. I met my now current wife, Kelly. And while she understood it, she wanted to see, we both wanted something that we could put our stamp on together. We met later on in life. We weren't going to have any kids together. So we wanted to, let's see what we can do with the business. And my knee jerk was, let's open a sports bar. And she's, reluctantly rolled her eyes, and she's like, whatever you want, hon. But then my buddy gave me the idea of a cigar bar simply because it's got a membership attached to it. And that has been by far the most valuable thing in Torch, is a membership, because of the camaraderie, because of the shared experiences. A lot of these guys are wounded 40, 50-year-old guys and ladies that are coming off of divorces. They need that cheers environment to where they're safe and they can laugh and they can do all this stuff and be creative and feel sexy. And that stuff that helps. We take a trip every August. There's 40 people that head up north, and we have a golf tournament, and it's just a wonderful bonding experience. It's
you got
great.
A community, man. Yeah,
man. Yeah, the ecosystem is wonderful because we've got some high profile people, a handful of really big athletes, but as soon as they walk through the doors at Torch, man, they just drop their guard. Nobody bothers them. The ego is checked at the door. Everyone gets along. It's not white. It's not black. It's not female. It's not male. It's not young. It's everybody. Yeah. So that has been the thing that we are by far the most proud of.
That's so cool. Go ahead.
And we got the name from, coming from the internet world, right? Where everything, if somebody's doing well, then you're just going to knock it off, right?
Yeah.
So I did the research of who was the 800-pound gorilla in the cigar bar space, and it was Rocky Patel. Rocky has a place, he's got multiple locations, but the one that I was looking at was in Naples, Florida. It's called Burn. I'm like, dude, what a cool name for a cigar bar. So went to thesaurus.com.
Torch is perfect.
Put it, yeah. This is how little we knew of coming into the industry. We didn't even know that a torch was a torch to light a cigar. Never heard the term. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's how little we knew. Somehow, some way, 4 years later, here we are.
Just figuring it
I don't
out.
know, man. Yeah, just a truly on the job experience, learning every single day.
So, so this is like a membership, right?
Part of it, we are
Part of it.
open to the public,
Okay.
but we do want we want memberships because it's my daughter's going to Old Miss in the fall. So she's looking at joining, coming from Arizona. What's the quickest way to ingratiate yourself to join a sorority? Well, it's the same thing here, right? If you're coming in a little bit wounded, then the best way to get to the front of the line and to grab our attention is to get a membership. And so then the camaraderie begins. Everybody's met with open arms. Whether you're Johnny Public or Jimmy member, it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
there is a significant difference between being a public and a member.
Mm-hmm. Is there a different area for the members, or how does that work?
We had it planned out that was going to be the case. Then the fire inspector came in. He's like, "Yeah, good try. You can't have an isolated spot, entrance and exit, to where your public can't get through." So at the same time, I didn't want the public trampling through a high end members area. So we just then we just developed the mindset. You know what? We're just going to have it be. We're just going to have it be, and we're going to see. Yeah, there's a locker room inside the humidors where all the lockers are, and so there's a lot of people showing off their nameplates and all that fun stuff. But for the most part, everything is by design. So the chairs that I'm looking at right now, they're all low back. A couple of guys in the beginning are like, you know what, we're conducting business here. I wish you guys had high back chairs. And I said, that's funny that you say that. We want to be inclusive where everyone could eavesdrop or listen in. He was the 1 out of 100. You know what? We're trying to conduct some serious business over here and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, as a rule, it works because a lot of times people will just put their arm on the chair of the table next to them. And now all of a sudden you've got eight chairs and everybody's talking. And that's what I dig about this place.
That's cool, man. That's so cool. So that kind of just told us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing and what you're up to. Who are some people that have championship leaders, mentors, coaches that have really impacted you and in your life, and what specifically is it about them, like characteristics as leaders that maybe even shaped who you are as a leader yourself?
Well, we're both mutual friends of Damon Burton. Damon and I cut our teeth in the internet world with a guy named Jason Braylow. Jason is a wonderfully successful man in the space. And the best part about me working with him was he was way up top. And then it must be the kiss of death. As soon as I came on board, he got TMF, meaning his merchant funds got seized and he couldn't conduct commerce. So I got to learn the business from the absolute bottom up. He was, I think, forced to expand or open up his Rolodex. Mm-hmm. So I got banking relationships, we got fulfillment relationships, and so Jason showed me from the guts up how to run the business, how to eat, breathe, sleep, focus towards the goal, and be unrelentingly, unapologetically relentless when it comes to achieving a goal. That man, to this day, still in communication with him all day, every day. And he, as a matter of fact, he officiated our wedding. So really? I've got nothing but love for the guy. And he by far shaped and molded me, because when I met him in my mid to late 30s, kind of drifting, didn't really know where the hell I was going, coming out of a divorce. And he was the one guy that kind of wrapped his arms around me and said, hey, this is the direction that we're going to go. It might be uncomfortable for you, but we're going to get there. 16-hour days, something that that was like a week's worth of productivity, and now it's condensed. That's a Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
That man by far, and now to bring it to current day, while he's still a part of my life, my wife, 100%. Mm-hmm. She's got a real job. She's in cybersecurity, and yet she's at Torch. We work a 12, 13-hour day on Friday, getting ready for and so she worked all day from 6 o'clock in the morning till we got it torch at 2, and then worked until 1 o'clock in the morning. I can't really bitch about being, oh, I'm tired, I haven't eaten yet.
Yeah.
Well,
No doubt.
she's been at it since 6, dude. So,
Yeah.
you know, and then we turned around and got to do it again on Saturday. So it's,
Wow.
yeah. So essentially I've got a part-time job where she's got 2 full-time jobs. So I can't let her down either now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. What's the vision for you guys? I think championship leaders, they have a great vision and more importantly, the courage to take action on that. What is it for you guys with the cigar bar and what you're trying to create? And
you mentioned courage, and you know, like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a game plan until they get punched in the face, right?
Yeah, right.
So we got again, we had a wonderful life where we traveled and we had wonderful dinners and had a nice house and all the fun stuff of, you know, the success of working hard and that was wonderful. And then we opened up Torch, where we were over our skis from day one.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what the hell we were doing. I didn't even know that Torch was a torch. I had no idea. That's how little we knew. But we kept grinding and we kept on trying to figure out a way. And then it got easier to where now, and hopefully my wife will not listen to this, but now I see why bar owners, expansion is always, if you asked me 4 years ago, this would be a franchise.
Yeah.
Because it has this uniqueness to it, unlike every other cigar bar or seemingly every other cigar bar where it's dark and it's an old guys club.
Yeah.
I'm looking around, there's 180 degrees of garage doors and doors, window doors. It's bright and it's airy and it's 20-foot ceilings.
I love
and that. This is where females can be very at home. You don't have to drop your girlfriend or wife off at, you know, at the club. You can bring her in here, and we get 50% of our clientele on a Saturday night are women. So with that to me feels like it's an industry shaker. And so expansion has always been in
Sure.
my thought process.
Yeah. Would you expand probably first in your local area? You know, Phoenix is pretty big.
Phoenix is pretty big, and there's a cigar bar on every single corner.
Is there?
It's unbelievable the
Wow.
amount of cigar bars. Actually, cigar shops. There's only a handful of us that paid the money to have a liquor license, and to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
To there's not a lot of margin in cigars. So, and if you don't have a liquor license, then more than likely it's BYOB. So I've never really understood. I don't really want to sit around with 70-year-old guys and talk about the stock market or talk about COVID. That's of zero interest to me.
Right.
I want to see creativity. I want people talk about, you know, conceptualizing a deal and then closing the deal and celebrating the deal. That's of interest to me. Yeah. And so that is, and I've recognized that that's unique, is the cigar community, especially the little pedantic places, it's very exclusive, and not in a good way. When you walk in, you definitely, if you're not a member there, then you're on the outside looking in.
Yeah. And
that's the exact opposite of what we've developed here.
Yeah.
You know, where you can just walk in off the street. And a perfect example, last week they were playing dice at the bar. A couple that looked like they had just gotten off a photo shoot from GQ walk in. Well, most people would be like, oh, you know, they're too pretty or they're too new. We've never seen them before. These knuckleheads, get up here. You guys
get up here.
A couple hours later, they're walking out with their tab paid from the winning. So
you
know what?
That's great, man. I love it.
So, it's that.
So, you know, I don't know if I've ever seen a woman smoke a cigar. Do any of the women smoke cigars?
You got to see some of these ones, especially the 2 nights where they get their freak on, Friday and Saturday, meaning their freak, meaning, hey, the claws are coming out.
Yeah.
I'm fierce. I'm here. I'm not playing.
Yeah.
They tell me what they want. Hey, how don't you have this? And wait, what the hell are you talking about? A lot of times, the ones that know, and they put me to shame. I have no idea what they're talking about. All I know is, just like wine, cigars are the same exact thing. All you have to do is say leathery undertones with
so they are. That's all. Nice, that's so cool, man.
Man. You can make up whatever flavor profile to make it sound like you're a genius.
I cannot wait to get down there. Seriously, like I'm due to get down there anyway. So I can't wait. That's awesome.
Yeah, avoid the 100 Days of Hell. We're right in the beginning of 100 Days of Hell right now.
Yeah, well, that just means you just sit inside the cigar bar all day.
Exactly.
Just drinking old fashions.
Drinking old fashioned. And we've got the biggest patio. To my knowledge, we got the biggest cigar bar patio on the planet, I would say. It's 2,000 square feet. If anybody can beat it, let me know. But at times we've got live music and a custom fire pit out there. And so, again, a very sexy vibe that changes personalities. It's so remarkably different at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon when we first opened to 9 o'clock that night. It completely changes. So
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
What's a critical moment or like a defining moment in your life? It's kind of my favorite question, my signature question here. That kind of the fork in the road moment where, had you made a different, you did make the decision that you had, and that's got you where you are today, but had you made a different decision that, your life would look very, very different. I think we all probably have those moments. I think a lot of the listeners right now, like I just did that, you knew that I was working with Satem Ali last time we talked. And since then I've left him and I'm on my own during COVID and during this crisis, and it was time, and I'm excited, and it's been great. Just came off of my first, one of my first big events this past weekend.
Congrats.
But yeah, so that was definitely a critical moment in my life, making that decision. What's one for you that comes to mind that you could share with the listeners?
This is going to take a while.
Yeah, that's good.
So brace.
Let's do it.
Because 11 years ago, I was in Utah. So married my college sweetheart, moved to Vegas, had a wonderful daughter, but then eventually got divorced. And I've recognized that Las Vegas is the worst town on planet Earth to get a divorce in, especially in your early 30s, especially bartending. It is very, very, very fast paced.
Yeah.
So I had a buddy that I did real estate with. We did mortgages in Vegas, and he became a bishop of all things in Lehi, Utah.
Okay.
So we would periodically stay in touch. He just called out of the blue one day. He goes, "How you doing?" I go, "Man, I'm not doing all that well." He goes, "Get your ass up here." Good language by a bishop. There's
right.
So I packed all my belongings into the car, all my worldly possessions fit into a 99 Camry, and I drove up to Utah. And I spent 7 years there, and we talked about the difference between membership and public, and Utah was always that for me. While it was safe and it was gentler, I never felt at home.
Yeah,
and
if you're not part of the crew, you're kind of on the outside, right?
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Well, I got plenty of connections up there and friends, and so yeah, I've experienced that. Yeah.
And that doesn't change. And so, I recognized as I opened up Harrington Consulting, the internet consulting company, I grasped the concept that I could do this from a beach in Maui. It doesn't matter where I'm at. So I didn't have anyone there. I didn't have a job per se that was anchoring me. So I'm like, what in the hell am I doing here? My parents were in Arizona. And so it just came to fruition that I locked in a house. It just so happened to be on a golf course. And I left the uncomfortability every day of living in Salt Lake City to all of a sudden mind, heart, and soul expansion, even though it's in the same, somebody said that you're jumping from the frying pan into the fire, going from one Mormon community in Salt Lake City into Gilbert, Arizona. Yeah. But again, you can find pockets where there's just wonderfully genuine human beings. Yeah. And these knuckleheads had more money, more understanding wives than I've ever seen in my life. We played golf, a whole bunch of gambling, a whole bunch of drinking. So but somehow kept it afloat. And then eventually I was introduced by some of these friends to at the haste and the no
Yeah.
to some of them are like, you can't introduce her to Jon Harrington. Oh no, you were setting this poor woman up for failure.
Yeah.
But it worked, and she
Great.
has been just unbelievably sweet and kind. And that all came from the realization of looking down the path, having enough foresight to recognize that Utah wasn't home. And the Utah is not on that. There was a 10-year window where I was in Albany, New York, for example, because I'm from upstate New York. And we went out to a bar one night, and one of the guys asked me what I was doing in Albany. I said, well, you know what? I'm looking to get a second lease on life and coming here to make a name for myself and live up to the potential that I thought that I had. And he looked at me. He was dead serious. He goes, John, Albany, New York is not where you come to live. Albany is where you come to die. 2 days later, I packed up my car and left and went to Vegas. So I was just a tumbleweed for the longest time. And again, we go back to Jason Braylow. Jason took a real big chance on me, knowing that I don't have any roots. And you know what? He gave me some roots to finally let the past kind of extinguish itself, look in the mirror. That's where Utah really did help, because I didn't know anyone or very few people. There was a lot of time of soberly staring into a mirror going, dude, you've got to rely on yourself. You've got to learn to talk nicer to yourself. That self-chatter, especially an entrepreneur, you know this world. If you're being an asshole to yourself, you are, pardon my French, you're fucked. You can't make it if you don't have that genuine, I can do this. We're going to get through it, buddy. I don't know how, but we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I love it.
And that once I came down to Arizona, it reconfigured everything to where it just got easier. Until we opened Torch. But you know what? The sad thing is that nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You know, you're the one that created it.
For sure.
You it's just like an NFL quarterback, right? You get all the accolades when you're throwing touchdowns and winning games.
Yeah.
Well, hey, jackass, if some running back fumbles and that causes you to lose, guess who fumbled?
Yeah, it's on the QB, right? Yeah.
It is every time.
That's what leadership's all about. I mean, it's right.
Well, we can live with that. Absolutely. Give me that responsibility.
Yeah.
Exactly. Give me that responsibility, because I'm going to take that kid that just fumbled, and you know what? We're going to learn from it. You're never going to do it again. Yeah. And we're going to show you how it is to win. And then it's going to taste that much sweeter, knowing full well what shit tastes like on the defeat.
Exactly.
We don't want that. Losses suck.
Yeah,
Losses
totally.
suck. I wish the wins were as great.
Yeah.
You know, as the losses are horrible, but the wins to me are kind of like, okay, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I don't get as high on the wins, but man, the losses
but the losses are you know, they're required, right? Like you got to have the losses. You got to know what it feels like and tastes like to lose, so that you can continue to get better.
Correct. And you recognize that stove is hot and you never want to touch it again. You know, you look at your hand and there's a blister. All right, got it. Yep.
Yeah. Don't do that again. All right.
Don't do that again. Do not, under any circumstances, do not do that again.
Yeah, 100%. So, so do you live in Gilbert? Is that right?
You know what? So at the time, I did. Then we got married, and then we moved to Scottsdale.
Okay.
And then we learned a very valuable lesson, right? Everybody talks about location. I genuinely thought it was the physical location. My wife had lived 20 plus years in Gilbert. I lived a handful, but I very, very quickly had the Rolodex just expand. So all of our contacts were down in Gilbert. We moved to Scottsdale, and that's where we built the bar.
Okay.
Actually, it's in Phoenix technically, but it's close enough. It's right on the border. But we knew nobody, and so we didn't. That's a huge, just cautionary tale, is be careful where you build. Yes, you want the up and coming area, but you also need a group of people that is going to support you initially. Otherwise, we look back, we have no idea how in the heck we pulled. My wife, we've cashed out every 401k, every dime of savings. It's
Yeah.
all in this bar.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do.
That's
Just
awesome.
live
Yeah.
to see
I mean, I
another
love
day.
it. Yeah. You're just like, hey, we're gonna do this thing. We're all in, burning ships, and we're gonna make it work.
We are absolutely. We torched every single ship that we
Torch the
had,
ships.
and we are on the island, and we are here to fight.
Yeah.
We are ready to rumble. And the thing in Vegas, the number one thing that Vegas taught me was you're 15 minutes from success, and so
Mm-hmm.
you're forced to. My brain, I think, by birth was always wired to look backwards and almost marinate in losses. Once I got to Vegas and got a little bit older, then you recognize, okay, I just got to put one foot in front of the other. And sometimes, man, that's all it is, right? I'm sure you've been there. You wake up like, the hell am I doing today?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm getting my ass kicked. You know what would be easier? Just to stay down.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to call you out. Nobody's going to, you know what? They'd understand. And then all of a sudden you get that, I don't know, that lightning bolt from God saying, hey, I didn't put you down here to freaking sleep your life away. I didn't bring you down here to piss your life away. Make something, do something, do something.
Yeah. So true. That's so good.
And sometimes that's all it is. I would love for it to be super ultra glamorous. Like, well, you know,
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
in a
Right.
every night, smoking a cigar and drinking an old fashioned.
Yeah. Just sitting in the corner. Yeah.
No. I'm in the bathroom freaking plunging urinals.
I love it. I love it.
Not the toilet, the urinal.
Yeah.
Oh, so ultra glamorous. So glamorous.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate you being here, and I want to respect your time, and I want to wrap us up here with one last question. What would be like if you could give us one or two things that if the listeners implemented today, it would help them move their life forward today? What would that be?
I'm going to stay on that theme, right? And as unsexy as this answer is, it is truly just putting one foot in front of the other.
Yep.
If you have a partner, either way, right? Because ultimately you've got to develop that self-talk and that self-chatter to say, I am going to do this. I don't know how, but we're going to walk towards a goal. Write everything down. It's so much easier when you write it down, right? And everybody looks towards that. A few years ago, I ran a marathon. You want to focus on that 26.2 barrier, but man, you got to get through that first. And the jackass that I ran it with, of course, went out like a rabbit.
Just took off.
I'm like, dude, we're too old for this crap to begin with. Now we're running 9-minute miles, and I'm trained for 10, which doesn't sound like all that much, but it is the difference. Because
huge difference.
At the 20-mile mark, just like in life, or at the 20-mile mark, that wall is real. I've run a handful of halves. That's nothing compared to a full. It's not two halves. It's exponentially bigger.
Yep.
And so I got to the 20-mile mark, and so from there on out, just like this, I went telephone pole to telephone pole for 6.2 miles. That was it. Just get to that one, and then you can quit. Yeah. Get to the next one. Get to the next one. You can quit when you get to that telephone pole.
Yep.
And you did that game in your head, and next thing you know, here I am 5 years later, feeling great about myself because I finished a marathon.
Yeah.
In a little bit slower time, but that last 6 miles was just as brutal. But once you start conditioning your brain and you do get these baby wins, and then another baby win, and then they start stacking, and now all of a sudden that belief in yourself, which is really what life is all about. It's not moxie, it's not hubris, it's real, it's confidence, it's swagger. That's when doors open up, because people can feed off of that. People don't want to be around the dude that's like, oh, I can't get out of bed, I can't do. If you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Right. Totally.
So
yeah.
Just get it done. And people are attracted to that, and they want to be around that.
Yeah.
They don't want to be around the dude that coulda, woulda, shoulda. Oh, my best days were in high school. Really? You understand? You're 50, right, bro? You just took away 3 decades.
So, let it go, bro. Yeah.
Let it go. We understand. Yeah, great. You played college ball. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Good for you.
Oh, that's good.
So that's it. As unsexy as it is, one foot in front of the other, and learn to be your best friend, and learn to be able to trust yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. I appreciate it. What if
Yeah,
you
man.
find out more about you, your bar, what you're up to, social media?
Everything's under Torch Cigar
You
Bar.
got a podcast, by
Torch.
the way, obviously. So
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. During this time, I had to come up with another creative outlet. Otherwise, man,
what's the name of
there's
the
only
podcast?
so Talking Torch.
Talking Torch.
So
Check it out.
so talking Torch, all of it feeds to Talking Torch Cigar Bar,
Yep.
torchcigarbar.com, Torch Cigar Bar on Instagram, Torch Cigar Bar on Facebook, so on Twitter. So all of it's Torch Cigar Bar.
And one last question. What's your favorite cigar?
I'll tell you what, man, that changes. It is.
What is it currently?
Like, you know what? Right this second, I would go in 1964 Padron Natural.
Okay.
Torpedo.
Dang.
Yeah.
I like it.
Smooth. Yeah, those Padrones, they know how to. They've got a little air. The Padron family has this, very. We talk about exclusivity. They're those guys.
Yeah.
But man, they make a wonderful product. So I'll go highbrow on you and go Padron.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for being here, Jon.
Thanks for having me on.
Time has flown, and it's great. And I'm looking forward to getting down there to check out Torch Bar.
Please
so if you're ever in Phoenix, Scottsdale area, you got to stop in on Jon, the Torch Cigar Bar. So appreciate you, man.
Yeah, right back at you.